Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, Mark Breland has weighed in on Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, and this is what he had to say. To be honest, I could beat Anthony Joshua. Doesn't have a jab at all. I would out-jab him. I don't think he's even able to touch me. I'd put him to sleep. Fury would beat him up. He's just straightforward. He's not hard to hit. So, some strong words from Mark Breland towards Anthony Joshua, and I would first like to say he doesn't have a jab. Well, how did he control Andy Ruiz Jr. and Kubrat Pulev in his last two fights if it wasn't using the jab? And saying that he's not hard to hit, well, he was quite elusive in his last two fights. Did he get hit all that much by Pulev? No. Did he get hit all that much by Ruiz? No, he didn't. Look at his face after the Pulev fight. Didn't get caught, didn't get marked up all that much. So there seems to be this disrespect towards Anthony Joshua when anyone talks about Tyson Fury versus AJ, especially from guys like Mark Breland, or those who are in that kind of position. They don't seem to believe that Anthony Joshua has the same kind of abilities as Tyson Fury, and he doesn't necessarily, they're different, but if we're going to respect Tyson Fury for what he is able to do in the ring, then let's respect Anthony Joshua as well, because Fury is tall, he's awkward, he's heavy, he's fast, he's got great reflexes, good footwork, he moves extremely well for a big man, but then let's look at Anthony Joshua. He does have a sharp jab, and it comes straight. He sets things up off of the jab. He has great combinations as well, especially on the inside. Those are devastating when he gets close to anyone. Plus, he likes fighting taller opponents, which not necessarily gives him an advantage in the Tyson Fury fight, but I think that it's not necessarily going to be as awkward as many believe in there with Fury. A smaller opponent seems to make it a little bit more difficult for AJ. So let's look at the things that AJ is able to do in respect to that, and not just Tyson Fury. When everyone seems to go and break down this fight, like Mark Breland, he's breaking it down there, saying that Fury does this, Fury does that. Fury's better than AJ because AJ doesn't throw a jab. AJ is there to be hit, he's too easy to catch clean, so Tyson Fury is therefore going to beat him, and Mark Breland himself even believes he would be able to do so. So let's look at Anthony Joshua's resume. Did it work against Povetkin? Yes, it did. Did it work against Ruiz in the second fight? Yes, it did. Klitschko? Yes. Dillian White? Yes. Joseph Parker? Yes. So, what is wrong with Anthony Joshua? If he's not that good, then how has he beaten these top 10 heavyweights? There must be some answer. If Mark Breland and those around him, anyone else, are going to make these kind of comments, they have to justify these comments and come up with evidence as to why that is the case, because why is Anthony Joshua so easy for Tyson Fury to beat and not the other way around? I see this as a 50-50 fight. That's the only thing you can call it. Yes, Anthony Joshua has a blemish on his resume against Ruiz, but he rematched him and he beat him. Yes, Ruiz was a 20 stone in that rematch. He wasn't in the best shape, but AJ still went in there and he won. And if we're going to call that just a fluke, the fact that Ruiz was too heavy and AJ came with the kind of mindset to win, Ruiz didn't necessarily do that. If we're going to go by that, then what about Alexander Povetkin, Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, Dillian White at British level? What about these fights? How does AJ keep winning like this against the top 10 opponents if he's not good enough? Again, there is always going to be that blemish there, Ruiz. I mean, there have been fights where Tyson Fury has had it difficult, in there with John McDermott, around British level. He struggled with him, and many say he won that fight. John McDermott did. Then there is obviously the Deontay Wilder fight, where in the first fight he was dropped twice. So there have been vulnerabilities shown by Tyson Fury. Just because Tyson Fury has had a career best performance in his last fight against Deontay Wilder, it was brilliant. I don't want to take anything away from Tyson Fury. Let's get that straight. I'm not trying to take things away from Tyson Fury just to big Anthony Joshua up, because then that would make me just as bad as someone like Mark Breland. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm saying is you have to look at it from the perspective of both fighters. You have to look at it and break them both down to see the weaknesses that Anthony Joshua has, yes, and the things that perhaps Tyson Fury can exploit. But you also have to go the other way and look at some weaknesses of Tyson Fury and certain things that AJ can exploit. Can Tyson Fury win this fight? Absolutely, I believe it definitely he can win. But can Anthony Joshua win this fight? Absolutely, he can win. It can go either way. That's the whole reason why it is labelled a 50-50 fight. AJ has the power to knock out Tyson Fury, and Fury has the ability to wear Anthony Joshua down and stop him, because I don't believe that Fury has that one punch power to stop Anthony Joshua. He might try and break him down. I believe that the game plan of Fury will be to frustrate Anthony Joshua early on with the jab, pawing with that jab, moving well, trying to be elusive, and not engage it too quickly. So Anthony Joshua around rounds 4 and 5 and 6, he will start to get desperate to land and eager to find his way into the fight because he's losing rounds, and then that is when Tyson Fury can step on things and make him make mistakes and try and tire him out. Later on in the fight, around rounds 8 going onwards, he can look to break AJ down and try and stop him. That is going to be the game plan likely of a Tyson Fury, but AJ will go a different way. AJ, I believe, will look to find a way to close that distance, so perhaps using his jab and work to the body of a Tyson Fury to try and slow him down, because one thing we haven't seen just yet from Tyson Fury is how he deals under pressure, and if he's in a position where he has to claw his way back into the fight. He'd done that with Deontay Wilder, but that was like a knockdown. He got back up and managed to get back into control and weather that storm that came from Deontay Wilder, and he almost stopped Wilder in that 12th round. Brilliant 12th round, incredible from Tyson Fury, rising like that and almost stopping Deontay Wilder. But has he lost 3, 4, 5 rounds on the trot, then had to claw his way back into the fight? That is going to be interesting when Tyson Fury is put in that situation. AJ needs to try and do that. He needs to try and take Tyson Fury to a place he's never been before. And I mean, Tyson Fury is someone who isn't considered to get tired going late in fights, but he's usually in control when he's in shape, of course. Early in his career, when he was not necessarily on it and not in the best shape, he would often get tired but still win because he had an immense amount of heart. But in his World Championship fights against Deontay Wilder, against Vladimir Klitschko, he didn't show any signs of getting tired, but then again, he was mostly in control. Even after being knocked down by Deontay Wilder, he was still able to get back into control quite quickly of the fight, and that is vital. Whereas what happens when he's in a position where he cannot control it, and he is getting beaten round after round, then that will be interesting to see if he gets tired, and whether he is able to maintain that kind of gas tank that he had in the Klitschko fight and in the Deontay Wilder fight. It will be interesting to see how he copes when he is in a position that he cannot control. I mean, Anthony Joshua has this stigma around him that he doesn't have the gas tank, he'll get tired in fights, and when he does he's extremely vulnerable. But that was mainly down to burning nervous energy and inexperience as well, especially in the Ruiz fight where he was in control and he knocked his man down and rushed in too quickly to close the show. That was vital in Andy Ruiz Jr.'s success in the fight, that Anthony Joshua was showing inexperience and he just wanted to get him out of there. It was a kind of situation that AJ just wanted to close the show, be explosive against Ruiz and get the stoppage. He wasn't really recognising the kind of a threat that was in front of him. Klitschko was a bit different, but then again he was able to find his way back in the fight after managing to establish a foothold in the fight. Tyson Fury was never in that position with Klitschko because he just outboxed him. He didn't necessarily go in there to have a go at Klitschko to get the stoppage, whereas Anthony Joshua kind of did. AJ even said after the fight he probably shown too much respect early on. So in that 5th round where AJ came out to hurt Klitschko straight away and dropped him, that was when Anthony Joshua decided he wanted to make more of a fight of it, to make it entertaining. 2 big power punches, let's go swinging and see who stays standing. That was kind of the mindset of AJ going into that 5th round. He was looking for the stoppage, and Tyson Fury and his game plan, he wasn't necessarily looking to do that. He was looking to box the whole time. And that was a smart move, because the thing is with Klitschko is early on in his career, he had 3 conclusive knockout losses, and many fighters would look at them and think, okay, if they can knock him out, then I can do that. So they would go in there looking for the knockout instead of looking to box, because Klitschko had mastered his boxing ability so that he wasn't engaging in such parts that he would have to get knocked out or get the knockout himself. He was more of a safety first fighter, so in that, many fighters would go after him looking for a KO because they knew that if they landed, they could hurt him. But what Tyson Fury done was flip that completely and went in there and outboxed him, because then Tyson Fury is the bigger man, the better jab, the better mover out of the two. So he was able to outbox Klitschko because Klitschko was expecting someone to come and fight and try and knock him out, just like all of the other fighters had done. Then in there with Deontay Wilder, he flipped it again. Deontay Wilder was looking for someone to come in and box him, to make it really awkward, but what Tyson Fury done was put him on the back foot, went after him, like many fighters did against Klitschko, so that shows you that Tyson Fury is very good at executing a game plan and staying calm under those kind of circumstances. AJ is now showing that trait as well with his boxing ability, making his man fall short and making him pay. He's shown that in the Ruiz fight and the Kubrat Pulla fight. And the jab is very important to the success of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, setting things up and also managing to use it as a way to gauge his opponent. So if we're going to give Tyson Fury props for what he has done, then we have to give it to AJ as well. That's what makes this fight a genuine 50-50. No easy fight for Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. That is why we want to see it so bad. If it was so easy for Tyson Fury, there wouldn't be this kind of intrigue. So guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.